Hello, I am Colton Watson, and I will be doing my part for the Southwest internal situational analysis. So to start off, Southwest is trying to run a cost/differentiation strategy. Now, what that means is that they are trying to provide the cheapest flights possible for their company, so it creates a competitive advantage there. But they're also trying to distance themselves from competition with quality customer service. So that's where the differentiation comes in. So it's very important that they accomplish both in a really good way, or else they'll fail at both because integrated is kind of hard to run because you're either too much of this or too much of that or too much of both to be good at one thing. So they have to figure that out. But I'd say right now they're actually doing a pretty good job of balancing out both and getting the advantages of both. So to start off with their loyalty programs, where they can create a competitive advantage, their loyalty programs give points just like any other airline company, but the points are based on money spent, not miles traveled. So that's huge as far as people who are businessmen, businesswomen that travel, and they might be only going one state over. So in terms of miles, they're not really putting up miles, but they're actually spending a lot more than regular because they can't like plan out their trips like people taking a vacation. So having the ability to get money based or points back based on money spent instead of miles traveled helps them a lot because they're just buying the first ticket they see because it's very time sensitive. And for people buying a trip, they can plan it out months later and buy the cheapest flight possible and base their whole vacation just around the flight. So that's the first one that creates some competitive advantage with loyalty programs. Another thing that they do that I thought would be good enough to throw in is that they actually include 2 free check-in bags if they're under 50 pounds. So that saves people a lot of money, and most airlines do not do that. So that's one of the perks that United or Southwest does to keep people, coming back in and repeat business basically. Um, so on top of that, I also wanted to talk about their value chain to kind of show the processes. So I'll be showing that on screen right now. So hopefully that comes up. And so as you can see, I created this value chain because it's easier to show the processes and things that they do internally to actually create the competitive advantages on actual value chain chart. So as you can see, their infrastructure is based around an integrated low cost / differentiation strategy, as I mentioned before. Infrastructure of companies built around providing cheap, fast service and differentiating from customers with quality customer service. So we also mentioned that just kind of how they carry themselves, really want repeat customers. And if they're providing the cheapest flights and the service is good as far as customer service, then there's no reason that people aren't going to Southwest anytime they fly. Marketing and sales is where they kind of, create the competitive advantage. Some of the other categories are just kind of doing it because it fits the basic need of what you need for an airline company. But their sales force is really good. Their loyalty programs, as I mentioned before, their rapid rewards, which is based on money spent, not miles traveled. Let's see here, 2 free check-in bags, pretty typical of what you'd expect, as I mentioned before, or not typical, but what I mentioned before, so you'd expect it to come up. It appeals to consumers looking for quick, no frills travel. So people that are just trying to get to where the point A to point B, they are getting good customer service, but it's not so much tacked on that they can't just enjoy the flight by getting through it, which most people I would assume want to get in and out of the airport, flying into their destination as fast as possible. So they do a really good job in doing that. Um, their service, last category, specializes in low cost domestic air travel. Basically, what I mentioned, just more laid out, is that they want to make sure domestically you're able to fly somewhere really cheap, and they do a pretty good job of that. Employees go beyond the job title. I read an article actually researching this about how they have a really fast cleanup time because they have employees that aren't supposed to do that will actually go out and help clean stuff up. If I believe so, stewardesses actually would help in the cleanup process and get everything in and out. Obviously the on ground flight crew would help out, and so a lot of people pitching in for something that isn't actually their job, just to make sure the flights come in and out really fast. And obviously their last thing is high quality customer service, which they really want to try to instill in their company. And so with those, let's see here, that should be everything that the company does internally to create competitive advantages.